What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's trade recap. Today is Friday, January 23rd. We ended up taking a D-risk long on NQ today. We end up getting stop rated before delivering our buy-side targets. So a little bit unfortunate there, but I did have reason to believe we might get a resweep here. So that is why I went very light risk on this. So we will go over this entry as well as one entry in the morning that I got a ton of questions about. So we will go ahead and get right into it. So as always, we will start on our higher time frame and work our way through my daily bias and just my whole thought process for the day. So coming into the morning, I had a neutral leaning bearish bias, and as you can see, our higher time frame does not have any clear direction. We have conflicting draws higher and lower, and we do not have clear order flow, so immediately I am risk off for the day. ES does look a little bit more bullish. We have this unfilled 4-hour gap above, as well as this stacked buy side here. And finally, an unsponsored London session high. So when we have these stacked highs here, this makes for a very, very strong draw. Over on ES, we're looking a little bit more bearish. We are holding this new week opening gap, and then we get a 4-hour change in the state of delivery lower. So the idea here is if we want to hold this order block, we can begin to push price lower to our untapped EQ of the range, this unsponsored London session low, as well as this unfilled hourly gap. But we do have those same targets higher. So this hourly bearish gap can act as our condition for the day. If price wants to trade through this gap, our next targets can become buy side. But if price wants to reject this area, we have a lot of nice targets lower. So looking a little bit more internally, we do have a bullish SMT coming into the morning with London session lows. NQ fails to take that low. ES takes that low and holds this hourly bullish gap. So from here, we start trading a little bit higher. And right at market open, we end up putting in an opposing SMT to this. So NQ fails to take this high, whereas ES goes ahead and takes that high. Or I said that backwards. NQ takes that high, ES fails to take that high. And then ES ends up holding this 15-minute bearish gap. So this is the trade idea that a lot of people were asking questions about, why I faded it. Because mechanically, this is a very A+ setup, looks really, really good. So we get our 4-minute inversion here. So we're holding a 15-minute bearish gap. We have an SMT at the highs, and we get a V-shape inversion. Why am I fading this? Well, you are targeting a low that is probably high resistance because it is a low that traded into an hourly bullish gap as well as put in a bullish SMT. And then, like I was speaking about before, our higher time frame is just not clear. We do not have clear momentum in either direction or clear structure, so we are probably not going to have those expansionary conditions. And then finally, we have 9:45 red folder news coming out, so I would rather just wait to see what that news does, see if we can get a data wick play, rather than putting risk on an entry that I'm not super confident in. This does end up being either a break even or a loss. If your break even is here, you get a break even, but if your break even is here, you end up taking a loss. Your break even should be this low, because this low could be high resistance, because that is the low that put in the bullish SMT. So this should be your break even. If you took that, should have been a break even trade. Now from here, we end up starting to displace higher, and here's where that hourly gap, like I said, can act as our condition. And here's where we end up taking that long. So I took the long before we actually closed through this bearish gap, and that is because mainly two reasons. Number one, we start getting really nice displacement, right? We close above this down close candle. And then looking on our middle time frame here, we're displacing above gaps. And then this is a big key to the puzzle here. We leave a relative equal high with London session highs. So we already have a bunch of stacked highs here, very strong draw. And then we leave a relative equal high here. The idea here is we are generating liquidity, so we are probably not going to need to retrace all the way down here just to flip this and give us London session highs. So when we get this 5-minute gap, what can this be? This can be our condition. If we're going to trade to this and hold it, where are we likely to trade next to? London session highs. But if we're going to trade through this, we're probably going to trade down to this next 5-minute, and then we can reevaluate from here. So NQ ends up trading into this 5-minute bullish gap, and we get a really nice inversion here. This is like two models overlapping, my favorite thing to happen. We get a phase of accumulation here, manipulate into our 5-minute gap, and then we get a really nice V-shaped inversion here. Very, very clean structure here. We have London session highs to target, as well as our resting buy side and that unfilled 4-hour gap. Like I said, very, very clear draws higher. The reason I went low risk on this is because we have unfilled gaps below. We have an unfilled 5 here and an unfilled 15 below, as well as this leg is pretty overextended here. So I would not be surprised if we got a resweep to want to come down to that 5 or 50-minute gap. And that is somewhat what ends up happening. We don't end up trading to that 15-minute gap, but we just get a little resweep here. And then we get that expansion here. And somebody in the Discord while we were live mentioned something that I've said in the past, and that it is, if you are putting low risk on a trade, chances are it's not super A+, and chances are you should fade it. And I agree with that 99% of the time. But in a situation like this, I'm very, very confident in this draw. So I am fine de-risking a little bit in the case that we get a resweep. That just gives me a little bit more capital to put on if we get a resweep and then a re-entry. But that did not end up happening. This candle ends up delivering London session highs there. So no re-entry on that. So a little bit of a loss there, but all is good. And then here, the last trade idea of the day was looking for shorts. So out of this 4-hour gap, the original one we were talking about, we could then potentially look for shorts. Why? Because ES is lagging here. We are holding that high, or NQ takes that high, ES fails to, and then we're holding this 4-hour bearish gap. But we end up trading much, much higher on ES to the point where we were not really even in that 4-hour gap. And then at this point, it's coming up on lunch hour, especially on a Friday. I just got off. I do think there ended up being some opportunity to short, but all good on that. Again, not going to stay on the charts all day, especially not on a Friday. So overall, not a bad way to end the week. Definitely some really good takeaways from today. And as always, if you guys do have questions, feel free to let me know. I will be more than happy to help, and I will catch you guys in the next one.